What's up guys, Tyler Medina here for another video, and this is what is in my camera bag for 2026. And so I love watching tech reviews like a lot of you, but I also love hearing from real people, real life situations. What are you using day in and day out in your camera bag? What's actually practical? What are must-have tools? What are must-have lenses and equipment? And that's the questions I'm here to answer today, so stay tuned for this video. All right, guys, so the first thing I do want to mention is this video is not sponsored by anybody. This is all gear that I've bought with my own money, that I've invested in, and that I've used in real world scenarios. And so before we even get into what's in my bag for 2026 as a wedding photographer, a portrait photographer, sports photographer, what do I use daily, what do I use every day, what do I like, what I do not like, because some of these things that are sitting in my bag have just been sitting there. But the majority of everything that's in my bag are things that I actually use every single day when I'm out shooting, when I'm out doing weddings, when I'm out doing portrait and lifestyle shoots, or real estate. And so I want to show you guys what's in my bag, what do I use on a practical sense. But before I even get to what's in my bag, I want to talk about the bag itself. And so this is a Peter McKinnon partnered with Nomadic. I'm surprised I was even able to do that. This thing is super heavy with all my gear in it, but this bag is fantastic. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. Before I got to having a bag or a backpack, I always used a Pelican case. I just thought it was, I invested heavily into Pelican cases and like the SKB cases and just anything that was like a hard plastic, waterproof, could bring on an airplane. And, it served me well because I was in Ecuador in 2015 and I was going overseas and traveling a lot. So having a Pelican case that was also able to fit onto the plane made it really nice for protecting all my gear, especially when you know how much money you have in photography gear. So it was really good, but as far as like daily shoots and going out every single day, like a Pelican case just doesn't cut it. Like it's definitely protective when it comes to that, but it's so inconvenient. You're not able to throw it on your back. It's really bulky. It takes up a lot of space. Whereas like I was really looking for a good bag. I was really looking for a good backpack that I could lug around that had all the spaces, all the compartments. And then when Peter McKinnon came out with the Nomadic version of his backpack, I was like, I have to have this. And so this thing's fantastic. I probably don't know all the features on it, although I'll try to tell you. So let's see if you can see it here in the camera. This first part here, this is actually a compartment that opens up. So if you have this bag on you and you wanted a quick access, you should be able to see my camera, my R6 Mark III sitting in there right now. So you'll be able to have access to that and pull it out. So if you're running and gunning and you're shooting something very quickly, you can go ahead and open this up. You can grab your camera out, which is just awesome. It's super convenient. On the back here, it's got this compartment here. So, or really not really much of a compartment, but it's got a sleeve there. So if you're traveling, you're going through the airport, you have your luggage and you have your luggage rack up, this can actually go right onto that. So that's pretty cool there, pretty nifty. Obviously you have your straps here for your regular backpack straps, super supportive. They have the cross buckle here just to make sure that this really stays tight, stays on you. The material here is nice and breathable mesh. Feels good. It's padded nicely. So when you're carrying this around, even if it's super heavy, it doesn't really feel like a burden to carry it. So that's really good, especially when you're doing this all day long and you're carrying around 8-hour shoots, 9-hour shoots, etc. On the back here, it does have a pocket here for laptops, iPads, things like that, which obviously it's a tool that we use daily in the world of photography. All right, flipping around to the other side. This compartment here is really nice. It's got these nice magnets that, just like the way that sounds. Wait, just listen for a second. It's got a good sound to it. I like the way it opens and closes. They did this with magnets. You can go ahead and put your tripod in here, and then obviously your tripod straps up here just to keep it safe, keep it guarded. So that's really nice as well. It's got some grab handles here on the side. So if you're carrying the bag sideways, you have those handles there for that. So going to the front of the bag, not sure if you can see this, but it's got this magnet compartment that, just like the other compartment, magnetizes. So you can put things up there in that top compartment. It magnetizes shut. And so it's a pretty deep pocket. So you can store a lot of things in there. So additionally, you have this zipper right here. Essentially what this does is you open that up. It just opens the bag a little bit more. So if you have a lot of gear with you, have a lot of clothes in the front pocket there, it actually opens up to allow more room to breathe in the bag. All right, so next we have this compartment in the front, which actually gives room for your clothing. So if you're on a shoot, you're gonna be traveling for the weekend. What's nice about this bag, and I'll hold this up so you can see it, is it actually has these straps here where you can strap your clothes in. You can put extra accessories there. And then if we turn the bag around on the flip side, you have all these mesh netting there. So you can put all kind of toiletries and things like that in the bag. So super nice, especially if you're kind of traveling as a photographer, which most of us are. It's kind of a do-it-all bag, catch-all bag. It's going to be able to hold your gear, your camera equipment, which I'm going to show you that part in a minute, the main compartment, where you're actually holding all your gear, your lenses, lenses, your cameras, batteries, etc. But as far as a do-it-all bag, this bag really does do it all. I think Peter McKinnon and Nomadic knocked it out of the park with this bag. I've been using this bag now for probably 3 or 4 years, so it's been a daily carry for quite some time now. It's pretty weatherproof, pretty weather resistant, and you know, I mean, you can tell by the bag. I mean, it still looks like it's in great shape, and I've been using it for 3 or 4 years. So fantastic, way to go. Chef's kiss on the Nomadic bag. All right, let's go ahead and move on, and let's look at what's in my bag for 2026. All right, so this is my camera bag for 2026. These are the things that I carry with me all the time. This is what I'm bringing on every shoot. These are my go-to lenses, my go-to gear and equipment. Now, this isn't everything all together. There are some things that are missing from here. For instance, an R5 Mark II is normally in here, which I'm currently filming on right now at the point of this video. I also have a 35mm 1.4, which again, I'm using to film, partner with the R5 Mark II at the point of recording this. So let's just get into what's in my camera bag for 2026. What am I bringing with me on every shoot? What are my go-to tools? What's my go-to equipment? Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to bring out is the R6 Mark III. So if you guys have seen it already, I did an unboxing video on the R6 Mark III the moment I got it from Canon. I opened it with you guys before I even opened it for myself and looked at it and looked at all the features. The first thing I did was go right to video, right to YouTube, and I recorded an unboxing video of my honest first impressions, first thoughts on this camera, which, as you guys know, if you watch the video, those thoughts are fantastic. I've owned the original R6, I've owned the R6 Mark II, and now I have the privilege of owning the R6 Mark III, and they're all fantastic cameras. The primary reason that I upgraded, and the primary reason most people will upgrade from an R6 Mark II to an R6 Mark III, at least from my perspective, is the open gate shooting, which allows you to shoot 3:2 versus a 16:9, so you're getting the full aspect ratio there, especially if you're somebody that likes to crop vertical videos and make them for Instagram, TikTok, Facebook after the fact. This is going to be a great tool and a great feature for you. 32, honestly, I feel like is a good sweet spot as well when you're talking about resolution. I have the R5 Mark II, I had the original R5 as well, and 45 megapixels is really good, but it comes with a caveat. There's a lot of file size that comes along with that. You also start to see more imperfections, especially when you go to lower light. So I feel like that 24, 25 to 30 megapixel range honestly is a sweet spot. And so I know some people may argue with that. That's my personal opinion after using these cameras day in and day out for the last several years. So partnered with the R6 Mark III is the Canon 28-70 f2. What can I say about this lens? This lens is a beast. I mean, this lens is fantastic. It's absolutely phenomenal. I upgraded this lens from a 24-70 f2.8. Everybody kept talking about this lens, and at the point I'm like, man, I need to try it out. So when I got this lens, and people talk about and complain about how big this lens is, which I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it is a big lens. It's definitely larger than a 24-70 f2.8, especially if you're carrying it around. But at the end of the day, I'm going, guys, we have straps, we have gears. Like it's not a make or break or something that I'm complaining about carrying, especially when you caveat it with the images and the image quality that you get out of this lens. I mean, it's worth lugging this lens around for the image quality. This lens is fantastic. It's my go-to lens. I use it for everything, especially. I do wish it was a little bit wider. I wish it was a little bit wider in the sense of a 24. Like you don't realize how much that extra 4 millimeters makes a difference until you go to a 28. However, for the f2 aperture that's on this, I'll compensate the 4 millimeters for an f2 aperture. It's just fantastic, and I'm a prime guy personally. I love prime lenses, but with this lens, you cannot go wrong. So this is a go-to lens in my camera bag for doing portraits, doing wedding shoots, you're doing a bride getting ready, you're photographing her shoes and all her accessories and everything else. Like this lens is fantastic for all of that. It's a run and gun lens for sure. All right, so the next lens I want to talk about is the 100mm RF macro. Now this is really a lens that I can go with or go without. There's other lenses that I have that can get the job done, like a 135, even the 28-70. However, when I bought this lens, it was because, you know, it was the RF version. I had the EF version, which I liked pretty well. I got this one just because of any kind of shoots that I'm doing with weddings. If we're shooting rings or shooting anything that we have to get up and close and personal with, then it's a go-to to have a macro lens that has that capability. But again, honestly, this lens, for what it's worth, it takes up space in my bag, and I can just as easily accomplish this with a 28-70 or a 135. It may not be as good as the 100mm RF RF when it comes to macro, but it gets pretty darn close, and it's definitely enough to get the job done. However, I do like this lens. I've shot portraits with this lens as well, so it's not just a macro lens. The bokeh on it's really nice. It's an f2.8. It's a very good lens. It does well with portraits. It does well with macro photography, obviously, which is what it's intended for. But overall, again, there's other things and other tools in my bag that I can get the job done with if I need more space in my bag. That one's probably going to be the first one to go. Next, we have the 50mm. This is the RF version 1.4 VCM lens from Canon. So this is not as expensive as the 1.2 variant. So it's really nice for them to make a kind of a mid-range price point, because the other one can get pretty pricey. This one's still not cheap. I mean, it's $14.99, I believe, at the point of recording this video. And I believe that Canon made these kind of more geared towards videographers, because you can control the iris here. And so if you wanted to control what your aperture is outside of just the use of the camera, you can kind of have a nice slow controlled roll there of controlling your aperture, and then of course put it to auto and it locks in there. Perhaps at some point I'll do a full-length video review of this lens. Let me know if that's something you guys want to see down in the comments below. But other than that, it's honestly a really good lens. This is something I honestly use for videos more than stills, just because of what it's geared and triggered towards. And I also have the 28-70, which covers that 50mm focal length. So if I'm doing a wedding and I have this lens on there, it actually covers that. And then I also have a 35 1.4, which is just phenomenal. So it kind of covers both those ranges to where the 50mm is not as prevalent. Even though I love a 50mm lens, this one definitely takes place more for video for me than it does for stills, although I've used it for both and it's exceptional for both. The one complaint that I have on this lens is the noise. I don't know if you can hear that, but it almost, if you got this lens and you didn't know that it has that rattle inside, it pretty much sounds broke. So you'd have some concerns here if you got this lens and heard that rattling on the inside. You might think that Canon sent you a broken lens. So outside of that, again, this is a fantastic lens and one that I use all the time, specifically for video, and I have used it for portraits as well, and it does just as good. So that one's in my bag. All right, so next we have the 135 1.8 lens from Canon, the RF variant. What can I say about this lens? This is honestly one of my favorite lenses when it comes to portraits. The 1.8 is just, the bokeh is beautiful on this. Honestly, this is a really good run and gun lens as well when I have a second camera body. So typically what I'll do for a wedding, like I might have the R5 Mark II with the 28-70 f2, and then I usually have this on my R6 Mark II or R6 Mark III now, as kind of catching brides coming down the aisle, walking down the aisle, the wedding party coming down. I'll usually keep this lens, and it kind of gives that nice telephoto range, whereas it kind of replaces honestly my 70-200, which is something I forgot to mention that's not in this bag right now. My 70-200 is off to the side. Obviously that's been one of my favorite lenses for the last 10 plus years. I love a 70-200 f2.8. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. I've taken great portraits with that lens. I've taken great run and gun with that lens. Everything wedding wise, I mean, the majority of my wedding shots have been done with a 70-200 f2.8. I mean, it's always going to have a place in my bag. But if I'm being 100% honest, recently I've been using the 135 a lot more when it comes to brides walking down the aisle, just because of that 1.8 aperture. You can really get some nice bokeh with this lens, and you're capturing that moment that as photographers we need to capture, you know, the kissing moments and the moments of giving the rings and the moments of walking down the aisle and the reactions. This is a fantastic lens to have partnered with the 28-70 in those moments. So I love this lens. Portraits are fantastic with this. I can't brag on this lens enough. I'm really glad that I picked this lens up, and it's definitely worth getting. Again, if you guys want to see a full-length review on the 135 as well, let me know, and maybe that's something we can incorporate here in the future. All right, this lens was kind of one that I was curious whether or not I should buy. So this was kind of a whim purchase here. This is the 14mm 1.8 art lens from Sigma. It's actually gone up since I bought it. I think I bought this lens around $1,500 if I'm not mistaken, and I looked the other day and I think it was $2,200. So you might have to price check me on that, but I believe I saw it listed at about $2,200. Now this lens here is geared towards astrophotography. It's kind of what it's modeled at, or marketed to rather, is they market it to astrophotography, but it's not only for astrophotography. This is obviously a very wide lens, ultra wide. It gets you that 14mm range, and it also gets you 1.8. So that's the nice thing about this lens. Obviously it's wide open for astrophotography and things like that, but using this for portraits, using this for settings where you're in tight spaces, especially doing weddings. Again, I want to pick up an RF 15-35. That's a lens that's kind of missing in my bag that I've not picked up yet. That would obviously honestly replace this most likely in my everyday setup. However, having the 14 millimeter and not having a 15 to 35 right now, this was kind of getting that gap. I have a 28 to 70, which overlaps, and then this was able to hit that ultra wide range. But I've gotten really nice portraits out of this. I've gotten really nice ultra wide photos. If I'm going into doing a wedding scene where I'm going into where the bride's getting ready, obviously it's an area that's a lot of times not well lit, so having a wider aperture helps with that. And then also too, you're in tight spaces, so having something that can go beyond a 28 millimeter is a must-have. I like this lens a lot. From what I've used of it, it produces great photos. Honestly, any of the Sigma art lens series is fantastic. I've moved a lot towards moving the majority of my collection, the majority of my glass towards RF now. And so I've almost had everything switched over to RF, but I still have a few Sigma lenses. I just sold an 85 millimeter the other day, art series lens. That's why I don't have an 85 in this bag right now. And again, it kind of overlaps to where you have the 135 honestly hits a little bit flatter, and it kind of covers that range as well. So it wasn't something that was a necessity at this moment, but I do like the 85, and I'll probably be replacing and getting the RF version of the 85 at some point in the future. But for right now, Sigma makes fantastic glass. So if you're looking for cheaper alternatives to the RF glass, I know it's not on everybody's budget, and the RF glass is very, very expensive. So if you're not somebody that's doing this full time, doing weddings and actually making a career out of it, it's a hobby, or you just like taking portraits, the Sigma glass is honestly a great alternative. I love Sigma lenses. I've used them for years. When the art series came out, it's absolutely fantastic. I've had the 50 millimeter, I've had the 35, I've had the 85, I have the 14 obviously, and they're all fantastic lenses. So you can't go wrong with having a Sigma art series glass in your bag. I would use it on professional shoots. I have used it on professional shoots, and there's no problem, there's no worry there. So obviously at some point in the future, like I said, that'll most likely be getting replaced with a 15 to 35 RF, but for this moment, it has a place in my bag, and when you need it, you need it, and it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That falls into that category. All right, so moving on. This is my DJI mic set. This is fantastic. I can't brag enough about just how the packaging is on this. So this case here is basically a charging case. So you have the charging port there, and right here it'll show you kind of where the charging status is of the bag. I have two mics. I have the mic and the receiver missing right, the transmitter and the mic missing right now because I'm using them at the point of this video to record. And then there's an additional mic here, which is really nice. So you can record two people at once. Then also you have adapters here for your phones and things like that. I'm always using it on my camera itself, plugged directly into the mic port. And honestly, like I have Shure SM7Bs because I have a podcast set up at my house. I have a Shure SM7B at my desk. I have Shure SM7B set up at my podcast station. But honestly, I use this mic now more than I use the Shure SM7B. It's just a lot easier to set up. It's a lot quicker. And the sound on it, honestly, is fantastic. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below because I'm using it right now to record this video. So this is great, especially having the two mics. I think the range on them is like 300 feet, so it's crazy what the range is on these mics. And you can record two people at once. And so if you are doing film and you're doing video, let's just use a wedding for instance, and you're filming a ceremony where they're both exchanging vows, exchanging rings, things like that, you have the capability of putting this on the jacket and the dress, right, of the bride and groom. And so you're able to hear everything clearly and record it even from a distance. So that's what's really awesome about this receiver set. So I would highly recommend this to anybody that's looking for a mic setup. And honestly, it's not that expensive. I think it's roughly $300, somewhere in that range. So fantastic setup, definitely worth getting, worth having in your bag. We'll go ahead and take this battery off. I believe this is an LPE6 battery. I have a ton of these. Spoiler alert, if you saw my video about the R6 Mark III, these batteries still work and function. However, the R6 Mark III as well as the R5 Mark II have gone to the newer LPE6NH batteries, I believe is what they're called. Now, these are still usable. However, they do limit functions. And so on the R6 Mark III, I believe they limit functions like burst rate and things like that, more so on the photo side. And then when it comes to the R5 Mark II, you're going to see limitations in video. So I don't think you can shoot 4K as long, and I don't think you can do higher frame rates. And so it does have some limitations. So keep that in mind. If you have a bunch of these lying around, which if you're a Canon photographer, you most likely do, I wouldn't get rid of these. I would still hold on to these as backups, especially if you run out of battery capacity. But I've already been in the process of starting to switch over all of my batteries to the LPE6NH battery. Such a long name. So speaking of batteries, this is my battery holder here. I honestly need to get another one of these because I have so many batteries at this point and this only holds 3. So this is the Peter McKinnon battery holder. I don't know if there's another official name for it, but it basically matches the set here. And so I really love this holder a lot. It's super convenient. Like I said, I need to get another one because I have so many batteries at this point and this one only holds 3. So I definitely need another one to hold all the batteries that I have, but it's just super nice. I can't remember what the price is on this. I'll add it if I think about it in post edit. But all together, just to hold your batteries together in one place, it's a great kit. Along with that, I also have the Peter McKinnon ND filter holder. So this is more than just ND filters. It's going to hold any kind of filters like that. And honestly, I can't brag enough about the Peter McKinnon Nomadic bag, the Peter McKinnon Nomadic accessories. Everything they did was really high quality. It's top notch. They look good. They present well, and they're very functional. So I'll show you my card holder in a minute, which is also Peter McKinnon, and they're all fantastic, well made and quality items. So here's for filters. So this is for holding ND filters or any kind of filter thread on your lenses. So just really cool, really neat. Keeps everything together, keeps everything matching. And if you're running and gunning, especially with NDs, and you need the capacity for that, it's nice to have something that's quick and easy to go to. So I would highly recommend having the Peter McKinnon setup there. Okay, so the next thing we have is the camera strap. This is the one that I'm using if I'm not using my holster. I essentially have a leather vest that I use now for weddings, which has the capacity to have 2 cameras at once. Honestly, it's a lifesaver. I love that thing. I've used it now for the last wedding that I did. I picked it up and it's awesome. It's incredible. And so you don't have to worry about constantly switching your cameras. You can have 2 cameras down at your side. They stay pretty secure, and I might do a review on that at some point as well. Let me know your thoughts. You kind of look like Dirty Harry. You got both cameras hanging out at your side, and people are always commenting on it. So it's really cool. I love that. Honestly, I probably won't go back to something like this unless I'm doing portrait shoots where I'm only using one camera and I don't need to have both camera bodies out. In that case, I'm going to the Peak Design. So again, when this came out, it was revolutionary. These are game changers. They're lifesavers. You know, if you guys have been doing this for any point in time now, you know the ones that come with the camera are not really as useful. It takes quite a time to change them in and out, and they're not as comfortable as something like the Peak Design. Whereas this, you have these little tethers on your camera, and so these just kind of stay here in place, and this is able to attach very quickly and smooth in and out, and so that just clicks right into place. If you're going to remove it, you just press that tab down and pull this off, and so it's very, very quick, very easy. And so if I'm doing any kind of portrait shooting where I just have one camera and I want a strap on me, this is the strap that I'm going to use. It's replaced any other strap, and typically with the Canon straps, I usually just throw them on the shelf the minute I get them. All right, going to the top part of the camera bag now. Let's go ahead and look what I got in here. So charger. So this is, I believe, a 10-foot cord, and so just super convenient to have. This is USB-C to USB-C. The other nice part about that is if I'm doing video, like on the R5 Mark II, the R6 Mark III, they have the capability to charge via USB-C. So just having something like this on hand, whether you're charging your iPad or if you're doing video and you need kind of that extra battery life, and it's not and it's accessible there for you to do so, then it's nice to have an extra charging cable on hand because you never know when you might use it. All right, going next, I have Shure in-ears. So this is not something that's as much relative to the weddings and things like that I'm shooting, but I do keep Shure in-ears on hand. I'm also a musician, I'm a drummer, I'm a guitar player, so if I'm going and doing a church event or doing something that I need in-ears, I have them here. If I'm doing videos and video calls and I don't want to have the headphones on and have something a little bit more discreet, then I can use the in-ears for that as well. So doing any kind of Zoom calls, video calls, anything like that, having a nice pack of Shure in-ears is worth it to have. Next, what do we have? We got, this is also the Peter McKinnon I was telling you about earlier. So this is going to be my SD card holder. So again, love the Peter McKinnon quality. You hear that magnet just magnetizes in place, which is super nice, super easy to open up. I love the convenience of these, and I have all my extra SD cards that are all just stashed away in here. So super nice to have. Like I said, I'm a big fan of all the gear they've made. They've made it super nice, super easy. Going ahead next, what do we have? We have, this is a key tool for the cage, the small rig cage that I have on the R5 Mark II. So this is super handy because if you don't have this, it's like impossible to find another Allen wrench that's this size. So having this is very good and very handy to keep that on hand. Next, we have a cleaning cloth because you always need these, whether you're doing your lenses, your screens. Just having a cleaning cloth on hand is very good to have. It's very much a must-have, especially as a photographer. extra USB-C cable. So again, one of those things where USB-Cs are becoming more and more relevant, and the original USB is becoming more irrelevant. So having a USB-C extra cable lying around is going to be beneficial. I use it for card transfers, things like that. Next, we have a utility knife. So just a utility knife from Cobalt. So just something, you know, when I'm unboxing, doing different videos like that. And also, you never know when you might need something like this. So if you need it, it's there, it's handy. And so I keep that on hand. Also, lens brush. This is not something I use a whole lot, but it's one of those things, just having a lens pen, I guess is the actual technical name. Having a lens pen available, because you never want to touch the glass yourself. And so having something that can get dust off and try to clean lenses, clean caps, and also just get in there for hard to reach areas that, you know, you can't use your fingers for. Having something like this is nice to have. So again, just an extra accessory that I have there. Going into the top portion, I have another filter case. So this is more so for smaller filters on some of the smaller thread lenses. Honestly, most of these I don't use anymore. I just happen to have it in my bag. This goes to some of like the older lenses, older setup. But again, just something nice to have if you do need it, just in case. This is an extra, I don't even know what these are called, but it's an extra Thunderbolt accessory for my computer. So if I'm traveling, I have a main station here at the house in my studio, but if I'm traveling and I need something that's going to give extra USB accessories, so give me extra USB, extra HDMI capacity. There's a card reader on here as well, so it kind of just fits all those niches. And if you have your computer with you and you need to run and gun, unload files and things like that on the road, having something like that and having a card reader is essential, as you know. This right here is a tool that I got from Small Rig, so this is really nice. Unfortunately, it does not fit the Small Rig cage like I was just talking about with the Allen keys, so it does not fit that length, but it does have several Allen keys on it, has screwdriver on it, has a flat screwdriver here, which is very thick. It's almost, it's not something you would see on a regular screwdriver, but it fits a lot of the accessories that are on Small Rig. And so very nice when you're dealing with like camera tripod setups and things like that, and you have the screw heads that are hard to get to, hard to get around. This is very nice because it gets in there, and a lot of them have that flat head kind of capacity. And so anyway, just one of those little nifty tools that's good to have on hand. You never know when you need it, but I use this all the time, especially with having camera gear. It seems to just kind of be an all-around great all-purpose tool. So, and then outside of that, I have accessories for the cage, for my Small Rig cage, and then I also have tripod mounts. And so I have so many tripod mounts, which honestly come in handy. I don't even know how I lose them or how they affect, but I have many different tripods because I do video at the house. I have multiple cameras. I have a Canon C70 as well that I use mainly in the church setup. And so having multiple tripods obviously is a necessity, especially when you're doing things like podcasts and multicam shots. And so I have a bunch of tripod accessories that are throughout my studio here. And then I'm also going to flip over and show you guys one of the lenses that I carry. Something that I don't have in here right now is the Godox V100C. So that's another on-camera lens. So if you're a wedding photographer and you're doing and shooting weddings, obviously that's a necessity as well. Learning flash photography is going to change your life. It is a game changer when you begin to understand flash photography. So let me go ahead and grab the 8400. I'm going to show you that as well. So this is the Godox 8400 Pro. I love this thing. This is fantastic. I've used this on a lot of outdoor portraits. So anytime I'm going outside, I'm doing portraits, I'm using this. I'm using this for weddings. I'm using it on the dance floor. If a bride's getting ready and we're in a low lit room, I'm going to use it out on off-camera flash. So absolutely fantastic. I mentioned earlier about the 100C that I have is also fantastic for on-camera flash. Everything that I'm using in studio is for the most part is going to be either aperture or Amaran. So I have the Amaran tube lights. I have a lot of aperture key lights, fill lights, things like that. So, but as far as outdoor flashes go, and everything that I'm bringing with me is always going to be Godox. I have several of the 8200s as well, and they all just work seamlessly and they link up very well. And I'm just a big fan of Godox products the more that I use them. So I have here the Godox trigger. So using multiple Godox lights, again, one of the things that's nice is that it just works on this trigger. This trigger is very small, low profile. It looks larger than it actually is, but when it's on the camera and you're used to having things like off-camera screens and stuff like that, I mean, this is just, it's barely noticeable. But anyway, so I have that. That's the trigger that I'm going to use on all the flashes. And then I have the flash here, the Godox 8400 Pro. This one here is a little banged up and still works. We were on a shoot and doing a wedding, and my daughter was at the wedding. It was a relative, and she came swinging around the tripod. It was actually a C-stand. She came swinging around the C-stand and knocked the whole thing over, and it got bumped up here and survived it. So it got some little street rash there, but I was able to pick this thing up, set the C-stand back up, and it worked seamlessly. So one thing I can say is it survived the fall, and it was probably 7-8 feet up in the air. And so fantastic flash, very durable, as you can see. Like I said, I mean, it fell down, and that's the only thing that happened to it. So having this in my bag as well, if I'm doing any outdoor portraits, once you get around to flash photography is a game changer. And I'll go ahead and I'll include some sample photos as well. And I can't stress this enough, especially with new coming photographers. Learning how to use flashes is going to make your photography next level. And so it's going to be a game changer for weddings. It's going to be a game changer for portrait shoots. When you go from shooting natural light to understanding how flashes work and understanding how to create better portraits and how creative you can get with flashes, I'm telling you, it's going to change the way that you take photos. To me, it makes it more fun because you can get more creative with it, but also just the quality of images. They're not going to look as flat. You're going to have a lot more flattering images when you learn broad lighting and you learn short lighting and you learn how to really properly light an image. It's going to be a game changer for your photos, for your portraits, for your clients. And again, I'll go ahead and I'll include some sample photos here of what it looks like using an outdoor flash, or some pictures that I've taken using an outdoor flash. So that pretty much wraps up what's in my camera bag for 2026. I know we still have a few days left to go, so happy New Year's. And if you like videos and want to see more videos like this, do me a favor, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. And comment down below on content you'd like to see in the future. Maybe more tech and gear review, maybe more about wedding photography, maybe more about portraits. I look forward to taking this journey together and building this community. So I'd love to hear from you down below. See you next time.